Hey, you guys, this is Ann Titkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering, about the quiverful evangelical movement, which is one reason why I'm doing these Theology of the Righteous Gemstones episodes. Tonight, we're going to look at the Righteous Gemstones Season 1, Episode 8. But the righteous will see their fall. And that's kind of the entire theme of this episode. This episode is about failing, falling sin. And not just sin, but the kind of essential, let's shoot ourselves in the foot thing that we all do. But because it's the Righteous Gemstones, it's written large. Okay, we start with Uncle Baby Billy and Aunt Tiffany giving Judy a ride home after the Easter service when everything has gone haywire. Judy and BJ have broken up. They tell her that BJ will only slow down her career and encourage her to stay away from BJ, which is kind of funny because BJ is really the moderating influence that keeps Judy from doing her worst. So for them to say she shouldn't be with him is not very good on their part either. As soon as they drop her off, Uncle Baby Billy utters the funniest line I've ever heard him say in the entire three seasons of the Righteous Gemstones. He says, "Who wants to suck an old man's dick?" So we get that. The next thing we know, we got plastic Jesus is bobbing up and down like Tiffany's head, and we get to treat it to some oral sex crazy driving. Please don't do that. Don't ever do that. It's never a good idea. It never ends well, as you're about to see. So they got the crazy driving. And you got Uncle Baby Billy yelling, "God gave you a gift, girl." And Tiffany has to stop to take her gum out of her mouth and stick it on the dashboard, which just makes me laugh. Because that's such a country thing to do. I've seen people hang on to their gum forever. Then he starts doing a whole lot of dirty talk in the rest of the little sequence there. He's telling Tiffany all sorts of stuff, making suggestions to her to do this or that. I'm kind of like this and laughing at the same time because it is funny, but it's uncomfortable and weird in its own weird little way. And we still have plastic Jesus bobbing up and down. When he reaches his climax is the exact same time that their car is T-boned by a red van. Yes, 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 Scotty's red van. Scotty runs a stop sign and plows right into Uncle Baby Billy and Tiffany's. What kind of car was that they had? It was one that I had looked at getting at one point. Chrysler LeBaron, I think, convertible. So they all climb out of the wreckage and take a look and see what's going on. Tiffany's okay. Uncle Baby Billy's okay. Bruises and scrapes. It's a damn good thing none of them owned a car new enough to have airbags, because those things could leave some gnarly injuries when they're trying to save your ass. So they go check on Scotty, and Scotty is out cold. So Tiffany's going, "Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?" Not quite. Tiffany discovers all the moolah in the back. And they start filling their pockets. Her and Uncle Baby Billy start shoving money in their pockets, and you're like going, Skin County here. Exhibition is kind of public sex and stealing somebody else's money, because that money does not belong to them at all. Tiffany finds the gun that Scotty has on his dashboard. And Uncle Baby Billy says it's gemstone money. So that makes it double weird and awful for Uncle Baby Billy to be stealing it, because he's stealing it from his brother-in-law, Eli Gemstone. As they're looking at him, Scotty comes to. And when he does, Tiffany panics and shoots him right in the head and kills him. Her and Uncle Baby Billy end up covered with blood. Uncle Baby Billy starts saying, Tiffany, you're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail. And then we get the titles. Martin, the security guards show up to the blaring alarms that are the open safe and Jesse and Gideon tied up back to back in the vault. Then we're back with Tiffany and Uncle Baby Billy. Tiffany is crying and freaking out, and Uncle Baby Billy keeps saying that Tiffany is going to go to jail. So they push the van into a swampy area, and it's not quite covered, but Uncle Baby Billy says, don't worry, when high tide comes, it'll haul it on out of there. Too bad he didn't check the tide charts, because we're treated later to a shot of the van where the high water mark is exactly where they had pushed it in at. And it's sitting there in the middle of this giant mud puddle. They take all the money right before they push the thing into the swamp. And then we're back to Eli's office, where you have everybody in the family pretty much there. And Eli says this, which makes me laugh. He says, $3 million stolen on Easter Sunday? He can't believe how betrayed he feels. He rants about it quite a bit. And Amber tries to defend Gideon. But Gideon, he can't back what his mama is saying. This doesn't sit well with anybody in the family. Amber leaves after telling off Gideon, telling him to, quote, go back to Hollywood. Mama, I'm sorry, he kept saying. And it just seems to make her madder. Amber says even more insulting things to Gideon, and away she goes. The siblings have a meeting out in the garden behind Eli's house with the big fountain and such. So they're all standing around the fountain having a meeting, and Judy and Kelvin are freaking out because they're afraid that somebody's going to come down on them like a ton of bricks. They think that Gideon or Jesse told about the blackmail scheme, but Jesse says Daddy doesn't know that he knows nothing about the blackmail scheme. Kevin is worried about his reputation because he thinks he's going to be named youth pastor to watch or some such nonsense. Judy is freaking out because her vaulted career, singing and dancing, Judy Lee instead of Amy Lee, not realizing yet there's no career. They're all incredibly selfish in their own way, and we see that a lot in this scene. Judy says the family is effed. Except she doesn't say effed. But this being YouTube, and I would get spanked if I used the real word. That's all I'm saying. Uncle Baby Billy and Tiffany are packing at a frenzy. They're just throwing everything in suitcases like they think the FBI is on their trail. So they are trying to get out of there. Judy comes up. She starts pounding on the door and going, Uncle Baby Billy, I know you're in there. I know you're in there. Starts screaming for them. And she tries to interrupt that packing. They come out with the suitcases and start tossing them in the car. Uncle Baby Billy tells Judy that everything is off. Her career is off, her singing or dancing, him being part of the church, it's all over with. But he doesn't tell her why. He doesn't tell her that he has the $3 million. He tells Judy she isn't talented and she isn't very pretty, and he drives off. A horrible thing to say. He tells her she ain't Amy Lee, she ain't even Judy Lee, and leaves. And you could just see Judy is just crushed. It's a horrible thing. So this is another one of those sinful betrayals going on in today's episode. Eli's pensive in their massive church that looks like it used to be a sports arena. And then he tells Kelvin that they can't have any police involved in this thing and trying to get the money back, that they must handle it internally. Why? Because if they have police, they will have the police sniffing around the church financing. And that's the last thing they want, is to have the IRS coming down on them doing a crazy audit. Eli Eli says that all of the trappings that they've accumulated, all the wealth, just makes for more places for snakes to hide. And he has kind of a point there. He starts talking about what his father said about all you need is a group of people to lead and a Bible, and that's all you really need. That's all you really need. Jesse goes to talk to what am I reading? What did I talk to Gideon? Gideon is packing his bags. Gideon gives him the hard drive with the video on it, the video of him at the Atlanta prayer conference where him and his buddies were cavorting with drugs and prostitutes. And Gideon says this about what all he's been through since he's been home. He says he feels kind of free, that letting go of all this and all the truth being out has set him free. He feels free. Jesse says he's sorry that he blew Gideon off at the Atlanta prayer conference. He blew him off to party with his stupid pals, admits failures, and he apologizes to Gideon. Poor Gideon just weeps. And then they hug it out. Gideon says goodbye to his brothers and he leaves. Amber will not even acknowledge him or look at him as he's leaving. And you can see that Jesse is really torn. He's looking and watching through the window. And then we have Judy at her most needy. Judy goes to the optometry shop inside the Piggly Wiggly to talk to PJ. She goes to chase him down that Uncle Baby Billy is out of the way and there is no career. She shows up with bags that she brought him lunch, one of his favorite Thai foods, a curry with bean curd and sticky rice. He says he's already ordered his lunch, and he says this: I don't eat Thai anymore, especially not for lunch. It gives me the shits. Judy is shocked that he used that word, that he used the S words, as you always say, bowel movement. And he claims he's different. He's now more edgy. And then he turns his head so funny and like looking at my earrings sort of thing, trying to show that he's edgy. She begs him and apologizes, sort of apologizes, not quite. Talks about giving up her big career for him, not telling him that Uncle Baby Billy has skipped town and there is no career now. She doesn't tell him that, but she keeps begging him, and he's telling her, I've got to get back to work. Please leave me alone so I can get back to work. She said, I choose you, as in she chooses him over this big career singing and dancing at the church. He answers this by saying, I got to do me for a while. Judy offers to go in the back with him, pull off shirts and rub backs and dicks. But he turns her down. And then his lunch shows up, and it is the funniest, most awful thing ever. Denim shows up with his lunch. Why is this awful? Because Denim is a lesbian, and I have nothing against lesbians or LGBTQ, but I do have this against this particular sequence, these directors, and just in general the show on this. Denim is what you would call, if you were to call up, say, hello, Central Casting, send me a lesbian. This is what Denim is. Denim is like a 200 some odd pound woman with her hair shaved off pretty much. Very short hairdo, very butch clothing, large, okay? And Judy does not like it a bit. Now, I don't like it because, like I said, it's a stereotype, and lesbians come in every shape, size, color, whatever. And some of the ones I've known in my lifetime were very feminine, so for them to go with this easy, almost comical thing feels so wrong, like they made a mistake here. And this is one of the few times I've seen the Righteous Gemstones make what I think is a misstep in their casting of the quote lesbian. But Judy loses it. The appearance of denim makes her lose it completely. She starts cussing and carrying on and attacking Denim and saying all these horrible things before she trashes the office very slightly and then starts running out to the parking lot to beat down Denim's car, which is bizarre in and of itself. She makes even the security guards run when she goes after them with the cart after she trashes Denim's Nissan Cube, yellow with license plate that says Denim. So she trashes the car with taking carts and running it into her lemon yellow car. Interestingly enough, I learned doing some research for this episode that Nissan only made the Cube for sale in the US between the years 2009 and 2014. I have to say, one thing that they do really well in the Righteous Gemstones, and they did it extremely well in this particular scene, is the music. The music was on point and it matched the whole frenetic energy of Judy's crazy escapades. They had a sax that was playing this wild riff, and it just made it all the funnier. BJ watching from behind a rack of flip flops. Instead of coming out like a man and watching, he's like looking around the flip flops display to watch what's going on. And you can hear the cops coming. You're like, oh, Judy, this is a very bad idea. This is your sin. Then we end up at Kelvin's house, at his pool, actually. Kelvin is out there drinking wine while Keith is in the pool swimming, it looks like. Kelvin starts talking about the darkness around the family and the darkness around everything to do with the gemstones and himself. And then he tosses Keith out. He asks him to leave. He tells Keith, God is punishing us. Keith said that if God was punishing them, then he was being a little on the harsh side. Kelvin laughs and says he is no longer to fit Keith, and that's where he starts cussing Keith out and tossing him, telling him to get the F out, and yelling at him. Very harsh towards Keith, Kelvin is, and you're really shocked by that, going, wait a minute, is this Kelvin we're seeing? And I had to laugh about this. They had these orange and white striped towels. Those are Costco towels. I have seen in other episodes where there's pools, they have those same striped towels in different colors. I think Costco sells them like in red and white, green and white, and orange and white. But when I saw those when I was rewatching, I was like, my butt, those are my towels. Because even here in Costa Rica, we have Costco, sort of. We have a thing called Price Mart that carries a whole lot of Kirkland brand products, including those same stupid towels. So that was just a kind of a laugh for me, was the towels, seeing them. Oh, poor Keith, poor Keith. Then Kelvin jumps in the pool and he starts screaming and just carrying on in the water, face down. Not an emotionally healthy dude. So then Jesse does a very radical thing. He invites his entire posse, all of his guys that he hangs out with, Matthew, Levi, Chad, and the other guy, who I always forget his name, to come hang out with their wives at his house. Chad brings his kids. And you get an obvious sense that all the men in that room are flawed. He calls them all flawed. Jesse outs them to their family members. He mentions that God is not the bad guy here. And then he says, I'm not perfect. You really think so? Amber gets upset and says, Jesse, screening room now, in her most command voice. And then we get to see the full Atlanta Power Prayer Convention video because Jesse has the hard drive of the final copy of it. So he shows it to his buddy's wives and to his own wife. He could have hidden it, but he didn't. He decided he would out everybody and himself. We get to see Chad's gray scrotum. We get to see coke. We get to see Jesse trying to smoke crack cocaine. And Chad having relations, horizontal fellowship, with one of the ladies of the night on the tape while his friends are cheering him on, going, Chad, 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 Chad. No, 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 no. You never want to do that. That's just too weird. Okay. They all left because their wives were all stomping out. Everybody was in trouble, except for Levi was just sitting there like that, like a bump on the road log. And he said, I wish I had somebody in my life to get mad at me for doing bad things. It's like the saddest line I've heard in a long time on that show. Jesse tosses him out, and then he apologizes to Amber, as well he should, because what he did was so wrong. She starts tossing vases and lamps at him, and she's hollering. She's really big time mad, and I don't blame her. Then she gets her gun, and Jesse knows she's serious, and he starts running. He runs out the house, and he runs across the field to try to get to the woods before Amber shoots him, and he doesn't make it. Amber shoots him, and he starts yelling he got shot in the a-hole. Just too funny, but too horrible. We see Judy in the pokey. Judy has been arrested. She's sitting there waiting for somebody to come bail her rear end out. We see her daddy coming to get her. And she's wrecked. She's just at her wits' end, like you never see her, usually with smeared mascara on the whole 99 yards. She's wrecked. And then we get to see Uncle Baby Billy and Tiffany rolling around their ill-gotten gains. They're rolling around in their dollars they shouldn't have, the $3 million from Gemstones Ministry on Easter. They're rolling around and having themselves a grand old time of that money. And you just know they're going to come to some bad ends with that stupid amount of money. And we see a crushed Keith driving away. And it looks like he may cry at any second, and well, he might, because he is missing Kelvin, his true love. He doesn't really understand that yet, neither does Kelvin, I guess. So he drives past Scotty's van, and the cop's hauling it out, and he doesn't even blink an eyelash. He is just caught up in his own misery at that moment. And the last shot of Jesse rolling around in the field, screaming about his butthole. And we're out. Okay, that's the end of episode 8. Episode 9 is the season finale, and it is my all-time favorite. While this one was all about sin and betrayal and that sort of thing, which our Savior went through that too. He went through a time of betrayal before he was led to the cross. And then we see redemption. And we're going to see redemption and forgiveness in the next episode. One of the things that I love about this show is when you get to the season finales, it wraps up all the storylines in a very organic way, it feels. And you have redemption and you have forgiveness. And that just tickles me pink because you don't see that much in television shows. But it's kind of funny because I've been looking at this show and I've been noticing that, like the salvation story, you pass through these different stages, including betrayal and then forgiveness. And I can't wait for next week's episode because that's one of my favorites. And this is a day, I'm recording this on Saturday, October the 7th. It's kind of late for me. Usually I do these a week or so in advance, but I got this one. I was like, I didn't do that yet. This has been kind of a rough day for me. Why? Well, I have to talk about this just a little bit because that's one thing that my YouTube channel, when I'm not doing Righteous Gemstones, I do a lot of demystifying the behavior of the evangelical crew. The non-denomination, evangelical, high demand religious organizations, the kind of places that may have names like Our Savior's Power of Light Church of the Lighthouse. Just long, silly names that make no sense. And other ones like, there's one here I saw that I want to say it's Ascension is the name, but I'm not sure if that was it or not. Something with the name Activation. That was it. But they're all these same high demand religious organizations. I have a big box of different brochures and things that I've saved through the years in my time there in my old church, including a pile of chick tracts. And not just chick tracts, but stupid Bible studies we've done that I've debunked. This one in particular makes me laugh, and I've taken people through this one because, well, I've got to find it. There is a whole page here describing being baptized and urine for the glory of Satan. Just weird stuff that most people with normal experiences don't get to experience. We're not all Keith. We're not getting to that. So I invite you to watch my regular YouTube because I do these things. I go through some of this crap and I explain where it came from and what the thinking is. Well, today has been a hard day because of that. If you are living under a rock and you haven't looked at the news, Hamas attacked Israel. Israel is either attacking back or planning to attack back. And idiots like Wolf Blitzer are saying things like, the war. Why are we calling something a war on day one when we don't even know for sure what's going on? So I have to explain about Israel and evangelicalism. Israel evangelicalism, especially non-denominational evangelicalism, the kind of evangelicals that follow Trump. They don't really love Israel. They don't really love the Israeli people or Jews. They support Israel for one and one reason only. They want to see war. They want to see a holy war between Israel and every other Arab nation so that Jesus will come back. That is the whole thing behind these Christians carrying on about Israel. Israel, Israel, Israel. They want to see a holy war so Jesus will come back. Even if they have to provoke that holy war, even if they have to build a embassy in Jerusalem, whatever they have to do and support to make that happen, they'll do it. So that is what is behind evangelical support of Israel. They want to see end times. They want to bring end times on. They want Jesus to come back. I'd like to see Jesus come back too, but the thing is, I don't think they realize what they're asking for when they're doing that. They have said so many nasty things about so many different people that I'm almost afraid for them. They can say the stuff and act like this is normal, but most of us know that it's not. Shaming and blaming. And from what I understand during my years of study is they always told us to be very careful what we say about other people, not to call them names or wish bad things on them, because when you do that, you're unleashing that in the spiritual realm from God or whomever. You're saying, okay, you can do that same thing to me. So I think we have to be really careful what it is we're wishing for other people. I will say this. I hope and I pray, and I've got my fingers crossed, that Israel comes to their senses and they look to see what's going on before they react. I am not eager for the world to end. Hell, I'm still enjoying my retirement down in Costa Rica. And it's rainy season. It would really suck if the world ended during rainy season. And if I hadn't gotten to walk the beach for 2 or 3 days, it would suck so majorly. So I'm praying that peace on them, peace on all of them, peace, prosperity, patience, long suffering, and the ability to look at something and not react. Okay, you guys, that's my rant for today. That's my weird religious rant for the day, and that is it. I am out. I'll see you guys, I hope, next week. If we're not all blown up by the bomb by then. Cheery thought, huh? Love y'all.